This is currently hands down the best AFK money making method for trading mid-level combat stats. AFK can be a loose term thrown around a little bit, and if I'm honest, I'm guilty of that. However, for this video, through my investigations I found this method gives you up to a full 10 minutes fully away from your PC if you choose to. It's a perfect mid-level training method, and not only is it AFK, it's also efficient. Not usually words you hear together. It's currently the best XP I can find in game for mid-level combat training. The only requirement you need to have is 60 attack. At this level, along with 60 strength, I was getting just below 70k XP an hour without any strength bonus gear. With strength bonus gear, I was getting around 85k, and this XP will only increase the higher your levels. In comparison, doing the two other current most popular methods, which is Crabs or Nightmare Zone, these are about 50k XP an hour. You could easily do the classic bandits in the desert, but this method is pretty outdated and better with Guthans. Nightmare Zone, Crabs and Bandits all have one thing in common, which is they all make no money or very little profit per hour, whereas my new method makes between 500k and 1 mil depending on your stats, and with a little bit of luck. On this channel I often cover high level activities and methods. I've got a lot more videos on the idea list, but I realised not everyone has 99 combat stats, so I thought it was just a perfect time to release an AFK video on mid levels. Talking about training, one thing we're going to need is lots of pots. I don't know about you, but I often forget mine, so why not pick up some of my new 3D printed ones from my store to remind you not to forget any. My store is now getting quite a nice collection, and I'm adding to it every week. All the profits go towards researching new models through R&D or new equipment, and I also invest into new gear to help me make better videos. Thank you to everyone, whether you purchase something, subscribe, like, or even leave a comment. It all helps, and I'm extremely grateful. Now, let's go back to the video. I actually came across this method completely by mistake. I was training prayer at the wilderness altar when I accidentally clicked the wrong option to go to the chaos altar. Pretty confusing, both called altars. The elder wizards all automatically started attacking me, and at that very minute, a light bulb went off. I'd just been watching Rye's new Revenant loot video. His channel's well worth a watch, by the way, if you don't know about it. He was using the wilderness weapons to kill the revs, and this is because if you don't know, they receive a buff inside the wilderness. However, what you might not know is that you only need 60 attack to wield the Viggora's Chainmace, and no other stats. This makes it incredibly overpowered for such a low requirement weapon. Usually, training at level 60s is slow, and that's often because you're limited weapons that have low bonuses. Your strength level also limits your damage cap. Along with low attack level, this makes the weapons fairly inaccurate. By having such a huge buff on the Viggora's Chainmace in the wilderness, it means the statement I just mentioned no longer exists. Currently from Nightmare Zone, using the best strength gear and D-skim, you'll get around 55k XP an hour. Not too bad for low levels, but also not amazing. Sand crabs are also similar. However, as you might have guessed, my light bulb moment was to use the Viggora's Chainmace on the Elder Druids. I'll explain exactly how to get the best XP in game at mid levels, and some bonus tips and tricks to kill these guys. Now I hear you say, isn't this in the wilderness? Yes it is, and although I instantly thought this ruins the method, it's actually not as bad as it seems. We only need a low level of risk, and also the chance of getting PK'd is extremely low. This is because Elder Druids are only a level 30 in wilderness. This is great for two reasons. First, you're able to use tablets to teleport out quickly, and the second, meaning the combat bracket of people that can attack you is very limited. Since we're in the wilderness, this does mean only bring what you're willing to lose, just in case a framed is on one of his 100 accounts making a new video. That is unless you're a madman, I'd consider only keeping to 4 expensive items. This does however limit us a little bit on gear. I initially tested this method on my main, which I quickly realised is defeating the point in the video, but the method worked really well and could also be done on mains, not only just mid-level accounts. But I wanted to prove all my research right and put facts in this video. I'd have flicked through my accounts and luckily I found one that was an old alt I'd given up long ago on. In fact, this account was so old it had the original bank layout from 10 years ago. It has 64 attack, 64 strength, so the perfect account to test this on. At least I thought it was. One prayer. That's not really going to work. The Elder Druids attack with mage, and it hits really high, especially if they're all attacking you at once. The dedication I put into these videos for you guys, I bonded up the account and spent all that GP doing a proper investigation, so I went and quickly got some prayer levels. This actually worked out perfectly, as it means I got to use the ideal account this video was aimed at. However, I did die a few times getting the prayer levels. To start with, I got a nice budget setup. I was trying to get as much strength bonus as I could, while risking as little as possible. Since this video is aimed at mid-level accounts, I don't want to have expensive gear that might be unaffordable. The Chainmace is already a fairly expensive item. In this setup, I'm currently risking 700k without protecting item and 240k with protect item. Perfect. At the very start of the video I mentioned it was about 70k an hour without strength gear, and the reason for this quickly comes apparent. Since my prayer level was so low, my prayer points didn't last very long. Although there's a very nice bonus to this method, that there's a prayer altar you can constantly use to regain prayer, the disadvantage is that the quicker your prayer points drain, the more you need to use the altar, and the less AFK the method is. This is where, depending on your account build, things will vary up quite a lot of how long you can AFK for and how much XP you'll be getting. Since my account was very low on prayer points, so I quickly switched my strength gear for prayer gear to see exactly how long I could AFK for with my stats. In this setup, I only risk 130k. I also don't have a high enough magic level to wear a mitre, which would be a massive further 5 prayer bonus. My gear and stats are the worst setup you could possibly have, apart from maybe having lower strength level. To my surprise and delight, I was still getting a massive 70k XP an hour, and I was able to AFK up to a full 4 minutes at a time. This could easily be improved further with items I don't have access to, such as Ring of the Gods, a mitre, or maybe even a god book. On top of this, 41 prayer being very low, and if you're not making a Zerka or a Pure, then I'm 99% sure you'll have much higher prayer than this, which means you can last much longer without needing you the altar so much. Since getting 70 prayer only takes a few hours, I'd highly recommend using your profits from this method to invest into gear and prayer levels. So I've mentioned about money making from these guys a few times, but I haven't explained how. Elder Druids drop a few little nice things like runes and herbs. A looting bag would be helpful to pick up runners and other valuable herbs as well. But the item we're actually really after is the Elder Chaos robes. They've gone down quite a bit in price over time, but they're often used in PvP on Pures. The robes have the highest magical bonuses while only requiring 1 defense. The downside is there's no item sync for this gear, so as more come into the game, the lower the price becomes. Depending how many kills you get an hour will make a big difference to how much GP you'll be making per hour as well. This is of course not the best moneymaker in the world, but for a mid-level moneymaker it's not bad, and not to mention this is just a bonus for the main reason of killing these guys, which is fantastic XP an hour while being completely AFK. Because we only need Aether and super combat pots, because we have the altar restore prayer, the supply cost is actually quite low. This means these robes are basically pure profit, since the other little drops will pay for the Aether. You'll be making a steady amount per hour, and this will only increase with higher levels. I currently believe to date this is potentially the best gap filler from low to high level methods. The only negative I see is that it's in the wilderness, but as I repeat, please only bring what you're willing to lose. This is not at all a PKing hotspot, but it doesn't mean you can't get PK'd. I'd highly suggest having prayer indicators and idle notifications on, just in case you do get attacked. The main trouble you'll find is if you either get declawed or teleblocked. I would suggest to bring some emergency food and supplies, just in case you are attacked. However, this is the reason for the low risk, because if you do die, we're not risking too much. I would also suggest hopping if you are spotted by a PKer, because lots of PKers have alternate accounts, and they might have a pure that can attack you. For this reason, I suggest standing as far south as you can, because there's less chance you'll be spotted. And with that top tip, that wraps up this guide nicely. If you have found this guide helpful or enjoyable, please do subscribe for future video releases. I'll have a lot of unique ideas planned, as I'll be returning back to my AFK bossing investigation soon. Please leave any questions in the comments below, and I'll reply to every single one. Thank you for watching my guide, and I hope to see you in the next one. Good luck on your grinds, and bye for now.